So the Breath of the Wild sequel official trailer debuted yesterday at E3, and after 2 years, we finally get another look at the most anticipated follow-up of the current generation of gaming. And despite only being 2 minutes long, the trailer gave us a great look at new abilities and weapons that we'll be getting access to in the sequel. But I think the biggest reveal wasn't one that Nintendo necessarily intended to make, or at least they didn't intend for us to spot so early on. I'm talking, of course, about the fact that we're going to be playing as two different Links in two different time periods in the Breath of the Wild sequel. Before we really get into this, I'd love it if you could subscribe and hit the like button to help out with the YouTube algorithm. Make sure to hit that bell so you can be notified when I post new videos, and make sure to come back for more theories and coverage on news about the Breath of the Wild sequel here on the channel. Now, I know it sounds crazy, and a lot of you are probably thinking, wait a minute. This is just a different armor set, right? We had a bunch of those in the first Breath of the Wild game. That's why Link looks so different throughout the trailer, but I don't think so. I think we're going to be seeing our current Link as well as a version of Link that Impa told us about that lived 10,000 years ago. Now, when we examine the image of the battle that Impa presents us upon visiting Kakariko Village in Breath of the Wild, it is strangely reminiscent of the Link that we see falling through the sky around 30 seconds into the trailer. Not only do we see that this version of Link that's falling through the sky has a green tunic on, we also see there's very clear boots that are separated from his legs, as the image of the ancient hero has. We also see that the ancient hero in the image has really wild, long flowing hair. But the biggest thing is that we see the hero in the ancient image have something strange going on with his arm. And I think that's the key to what's going on here. In the original Breath of the Wild teaser that dropped about 2 years ago, we saw that Ganondorf was being sealed by some sort of mysterious green hand. And everybody and their mother had a theory as to what that hand was. And for some reason, none of us ever looked back at this image and saw not only that this hero in the ancient image that Impa presented us has a golden hand, which is a different color than the rest of his skin in the image, but also has strange golden markings that go up his arm and up to his shoulder area. When we take a close look at the Link in the sky area from the new trailer, we very clearly see not only does he have that kind of gauntlet or glove wrapped around his arm, but we also see markings almost like tattoos that go all the way up his shoulder. And I think that's what this image that Impa was presenting us was foreshadowing, something that we never thought to take a closer look at. And aside from all that, we do have to take into consideration that the two Links that we see have really distinct looks. The wild hair that we see of the Link every time he's in the sky does not match with the Link that we see when he is on the ground in Hyrule proper. And that makes me think that there is going to be one of them that is in the sky in an ancient version of Hyrule or Skyloft, and one of them that is in modern Hyrule on the ground fighting Ganondorf in the current day. Now, like I said, we also see that every shot of what I assume to be the ancient Link that we see in the new trailer is set in the sky. And remember that the only version of Link and Zelda we've seen set in the skies over Hyrule was the version from Skyloft in Skyward Sword. Now, that game is canonically the oldest in the Zelda timeline and shows the origin of the Master Sword as well as the origins of the curse that keeps reuniting Ganondorf, Zelda, and Link. I think the ancient Link that we are seeing is a matured version of the Link from Skyloft after Demise's curse took hold and brought Ganondorf to Hyrule and Skyloft. If that's the case, Ganondorf may have proved too strong for that ancient Link, at which point he might have used the apparatus on his hand to steal him away while locking his soul inside of it to keep the seal on Ganon and keep him from destroying the kingdom. Now, at the beginning of the new trailer, we do see the Malice attack Link's right arm, and in the original trailer, we see that the green energy goes into Link's right arm. We see that happen really quickly in a blink and you miss it shot. We also see about 45 seconds into this new trailer that the arm is kind of fixing itself to Link as it bonds to him and gives him the powers that we see later on in the trailer, but we also see the ancient form of Link using throughout his sections of the new trailer. I think what's happening is that the gauntlet is bonding to Link, the soul of the ancient hero is also transferred to Link, and through that, we can take a trip backwards through time, maybe to correct some of the mistakes that were made by the ancient hero, so that instead of sealing Ganondorf, he can actually defeat him in his time, which would hopefully lead to the eventual defeat of Ganondorf in modern Hyrule and the saving of Princess Zelda and the kingdom itself. The last thing I want to bring to your attention is something that I just saw mentioned by Masked Nintendo Bandit yesterday, who's a great YouTuber in the Zelda community that you should absolutely check out if you don't know who he is. I'm going to have a link in the description to his channel below, as well as a link to the video he posted yesterday. He mentions that a portion of Hyrule Ridge from the original game is shown in the new trailer. Now, the problem with this is we see this from the sky and what I believe to be ancient Link. And he brings this up as well, that this cannot be the same Hyrule that we've seen in the original Breath of the Wild, because it is missing some critical structures from the Zonai tribe that were constructed on that ridge. We saw them throughout the original game all around Hyrule, and this ridge had 4 distinct structures on it that are not there when we are looking at this specific ridge from the sky view. So that means there's something definitely different about the version of Hyrule when we are seeing it from the sky. Again, I think this has to do with the fact that we're in the past, we're in Skyloft, we're somewhere deep in the ancient past 10,000 years ago, living out what happened to this ancient hero who fought and sealed Ganondorf originally. And we're going to be seeing and experiencing things from his point of view in order to help us take down Ganondorf in the current modern timeline that Link and Zelda from the first Breath of the Wild game are living through. We do have to remember that Age of Calamity is canonical, however, it's set up that there are different universes. But I think the thing about Age of Calamity was that it was supposed to introduce us to the idea that time travel is a thing that can theoretically happen in this universe. The version of Hyrule that's occupied in Breath of the Wild has time travel in it. And we know that Nintendo in the Legend of Zelda franchise has done time travel before. It was one of the key things in both Ocarina of Time, as well as one of the major things in a section of Skyward Sword. And remember, this game right now is looking like it's going to have a ton of ties to Skyward Sword. We're seeing something like a redone Skyloft, not to mention the fact that in the first game when Zelda finds the Master Sword in that one cutscene and puts it into the forest, she hears the voice of Fi or Fi, or however you pronounce it, the spirit that occupied the Master Sword throughout Skyward Sword. I think the biggest thing about this, and the reason that Nintendo is bringing back Skyward Sword, is to remind us of all these things that are going to tie into the Breath of the Wild sequel. We're going to talk about that in another video, all the things that might tie in, especially after the release of Skyward Sword HD. We're going to make sure that we go over all the things that these two titles might have in common and the things that they may be able to teach us about the upcoming Breath of the Wild sequel. All things considered, I feel like there is significant evidence already of us having control of 2 separate Links that we will be controlling throughout our own adventure in the Breath of the Wild sequel. I'd love to know your thoughts on the Breath of the Wild trailer and this theory, so please leave a comment down below if you'd like to discuss the trailer further or any other theories you might have. Hey, thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you soon.